Thank you.
Thomson, you can start.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owner of the land where I'm tuning in from. I'm on the Gadigal people of the Eora Nations for my case, and I also acknowledge the traditional owner of the land where all of you are joining us from, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. And welcome to the Australian Malaysian Singaporean Association, or AMSA's info session, a Zoom info session about the National Monument to Migrations in partnership with the Australian National Maritime Museum. We're very lucky today that we have the partnership manager from the museum here, Ms. Tina Koutsogiannis. And also together with me is my colleague, Veronica Lin, who is the head of branding, marketing, and communication of AMSA, who has been remarkable with all the marketing collaterals and communication materials that you have been seeing about, particularly about the dinner. I also acknowledge, as I've mentioned, a few of our members here today, Christina as well, who's joining us from Melbourne, Kim, probably still on the train, and Jeffrey, who is our former president of AMSA, all the way in 1994, whom I've caught up recently as well with. You can, of course, and you're welcome to pay your respect to the traditional owner of the land where you're coming in from. And it's great that we have Mr. Casey Boy, who has done that already in the chat room. So I do encourage you to do that as well. Now, today's session is specifically very timely as we talk about the national migration of the National Monument of Migration, because this year in particular, we are celebrating 185 years of migration history since the first person who ever arrived in Australia in 1837, who is of a Malaysian Singaporean background. And as you are already well aware that our annual dinner, I should say, this year will be held at the Australian National Maritime Museum at the Lighthouse Gallery, and the team and I are extremely excited. Sounds like you're back, Christina. The team and I are extremely excited to see many of you and host many of you at the museum, and particularly very excited with the partnership that we're having with Tina and the team from the museum. So 10th of December is the day. But today, I think the purpose of this meeting is really just for you to understand a little bit more about what the National Monument is. And I understand through my conversations with some of you over the past few weeks, you're interested to find out more about how you can participate in honoring either yourself or fellow migrants on the wall, on the National Monument. So without further ado, but before that, for those of you who are not familiar with AMSA, of course, AMSA was set up in the 1970s. This year, we are celebrating our 52 years as an association. It is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, association that consists of people of Malaysian and Singaporean heritage. And we are really excited because after so many decades of leadership and passion from all our leaders, the organization is still going and passing on the torch from one person to the other. And particularly wanted to acknowledge all the past leaders as well in this call. But without further ado, let's hand it over to Tina for this. But before we invite Tina to talk about the National Monument, there's a video that we wanted to play as well about the monument.
Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica.
So I'll share my screen so you could watch the video. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
Yep.
The names inscribed on the welcome wall speak to a very important pillar of our national story. And each person has generously come forward
I think.
Can't hear it.
Can't hear it now. We can just now.
Yeah, just now it's okay.
can't really hear for some reason.
Yeah, me too. I can't hear it very well.
Is it, do you want me to reply?
Did you want it, or maybe we can send the link to everybody, they can watch it
Yeah.
to
Okay.
get, because it might be just
Okay.
fantastic. Well, basically, and I will talk to that. But firstly, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation as the traditional custodians of the Bamal and Bardu, the lands and waters on which the museum is located, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present, and to all First Nations people who are present here today. As Thomson mentioned, my name is Koutsogiannis, and I'm the partnerships consultant for the Australian National Maritime Museum, the Museum of the Sea. Thank you to everyone who has joined this afternoon, and to AMSA for inviting me to speak about the National Monument to Migration. Migration and the Museum. The Australian Migration Stories is one of the pillars of our work at the museum. We are the only national cultural institution with a focus on migration. The museum's migration-related activities include developing collections, exhibitions, programs, events, and our very popular educational resources, as well as research. We're currently developing an exciting digital migration program to share the stories more richly, and I will share that once that's launched. So I might start our slides. If I share my screen. Go. Here. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. So what is the National Monument to Migration? As some of you may have saw in the clip, the monument was previously known as the Welcome Wall, and it was elevated in status to Australia's National Monument to Migration by the Governor-General in a special ceremony that we had in March 2021. And at this ceremony, the Governor-General expressed that these stories, in terms of the migration stories, are integral to the Australian success story. In sharing our migration stories, you have helped create an important national resource for generations to come. This resource will make for a more inclusive, respectful, harmonious, and stronger Australia, something we should all aspire to. So the stories of migrants speak to universal themes such as belonging, love, adventure, family, and safety. Some are stories marked by adversity, loss, and sadness, alongside stories that just tell of a desire for a new start. Each name signifies one main emotion, and that is of hope. This is an image of the National Monument to Migration. The museum collects and exhibits the stories of migrants and honours them on the National Monument to Migration. It is one of the museum's most significant tributes to our migration heritage. You can see here, this is an aerial photo of the museum, and the monument is this here. So the monument is situated in Darling Harbour, which is where our museum is, and it's on the northern promenade of the museum, facing Pyrmont Bay, near where many migrants first disembarked, following a long voyage to their new home. This is a photo taken from the unveiling ceremony that we had last Sunday. This is the Nguyen family.
Yep, I met them.
You met them? Weren't they wonderful? It was one of my amazing and one of my favorite speakers of the day, really. So the monument here, which is where the Nguyen family is actually pointing to their names on the monument, It features over 32,000 migrant names. And this includes 114 now, Thomson from Malaysia, and 40 from Singapore. So it's a physical representation of the diversity of this nation. So I'll just repeat that. So we've got over 32,000 names on the monument. And of those 32,000 names, we have 114 from Malaysia and 40 from Singapore. So Thomson, AMSA and I are working on increasing this representation, and we're thrilled. The museum is thrilled to partner with AMSA, who will be holding their gala event at the museum. The theme of the gala will be migration stories in honor of our Malaysian and Singaporean immigrants and their contribution to building our nation. So how does one include a name on the monument? Any person who was born overseas and settled into Australia may be honoured on the monument. You can register a family member or another person who was born a citizen of another country and made Australia their home. You need to provide a permission letter signed by that person, if it's not yourself, the person you nominate, showing that they consent for their details being on both the bronze panel and on the online archive. And a copy of this consent is available online. So there are three parts to when one registers on the monument. One is the name in bronze, as we can see here. The other part is a migration story. You can add your migration story on the online archive, which then becomes part of the museum's migration collection. These are some of the stories that people have added onto the monument. You see, I love this particular quote from a lady who has honoured her parents. She's got here, "It is important to remember that they were also pioneers, adventurers, philosophers and dreamers who embarked on an unknown and brave journey to a country on the other side of the world. Ordinary people who did an extraordinary thing, and we will be forever grateful that they did." This is another great one as well. Tan Lee, Young Australian of the Year in 1998, said, "I still remember stepping off the aeroplane at Tullamarine after days alone at sea and months in a refugee camp. My mother told my sister and I to pat the ground because it was special. She tells us that we did pat it, but replied that it did not feel special. So she told us to make it special in our minds." This is a lady, Mona, who's been, her name was registered on the monument. She says here, "I too have come for a better life for the children mainly. Most migrants make these sacrifices, a bit like passing the baton on to future generations." And the third part when one registers is the sharing of migrant experiences, and that's at the unveiling ceremonies. This is the lovely Rosemary Kariuki, who was one of our speakers in 2021. And these are our speakers that we had at Sunday's ceremony. So Sunday's ceremony, we unveiled 876 migrant names from 50 countries. You see the speakers we had here, we had Stephen Ewan, who spoke about his parents' migration from Vietnam. Nick Lewocki, who spoke of his parents' migration from Poland. Eugenia Mitrakis, who spoke of her migration from Greece in the 50s. Richard Arculus, who spoke of his migration, his and his wife's migration from the UK. He's from Indian heritage, his wife is from Jordan, and they've travelled and migrated from various countries throughout their lives, and they finally settled in the ACT in Canberra. This is our new director, Daryl Karp, herself a migrant. She's from South Africa. And the MC for the ceremony is Virginia Langerberg, SBS presenter. She's a migrant from Sweden with a Tanzanian heritage. We go out further images of our speakers. This is our audience. We had close to, if not more than 2,000 people in attendance. Some of you might recognise this fellow in the audience. Thomson.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you can see people listening really intently to the speakers. It's a really moving day. You hear stories of, as I mentioned earlier, essentially with the essence being migration stories of hope. So this is another image of the ceremony. You know, it was 2,000 people despite the weather. So it's quite incredible, really. This is more images there. So how to register? Well, essentially, there's two ways. One is through online, right? So, and to have a name inscribed on the monument, or as I mentioned, a member of your family or community, requires a $500 tax-deductible donation to the Migration Heritage Fund. This fund goes towards raising money for our migration programming at the museum. So to go on, you go to the museum's website. Can you see here? You go on to the area that says support. And at the support, you click onto the National Monument to Migration link. Takes you to the monument webpage. And it's here where you add a name. And it takes you to this section here, and you indicate how many registrations you would like, and it processes it that way. Alternatively, you can call the museum, and I'll give you a number. It's 02 9298 3777. Please mention AMSA when you do. There are some specifications when registering on the monument. So each line, as you can see through here, takes 43 characters, and that includes spaces and punctuation. Some people like to have more than one name, and you can do that if it's, you know, within the specification of 43 characters. You probably can't do it when you've got a surname like Koutsogiannis, which is my surname. So you can put more than one person, as I said, as long as it fits within the 43 character limit. Our next ceremony, this is some beautiful images of migrants arriving that are on the monument. This family here, Japanese and Italian. So an image of Italian migrants, people attending the ceremony, looking at their names on the monument. So our next ceremony will take place in May of 2023. The cutoff to be part of that, the initial cutoff is the 22nd of December. Once we get enough names for a panel, we will close off the ceremony. But at this stage, the deadline is 22nd of December to be part of the May ceremony. Are there any questions about how to register or the monument or the museum in general?
I think if, I guess because our dinner event is on the 10th, and if anyone who registered before the 10th, perhaps there's, we would like to acknowledge that at the dinner.
Yes, great.
The name. So if I can sort of encourage people to, if you're thinking of doing these, you know, just to do that before the annual dinner. And if you're coming for the annual dinner, I think it's a great way of acknowledging that you're part of this incredible historical monument as well.
Absolutely. And I know that we were looking at potentially having a speaker. One of the monuments, so someone who's from the community registered on the monument to speak at the event on the 10th of December and to share their migration story.
Yeah. Jeffrey, you have a question?
Yes. Am I on the speaker already?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Let's just say Jeffrey Lee puts in $500 and have one name or two names on that line there.
Yes.
And may I ask, what is the $500 used for in the future of the museum, and how is it going to promote multiculturalism and so on?
Yes, absolutely. So the money you
want to stop
donate.
sharing your screen so that we can see who's talking. Otherwise, it's great. Thank you.
Is that better? Hello, now can I see Jeffrey? Yes, Jeffrey.
Yes.
So the tax deductible donation of $500 per line goes towards the Migration Heritage Fund. So the money that's raised towards that fund goes to the museum's migration programming. That is exhibitions, programs such as the ceremony we had on Sunday, our education programs, which are one of the most popular is on migration, events and the like. So the money raised towards the monument goes on migration programming.
Migration programming.
Correct.
What does that really mean? I mean, you're encouraging migration or discouraging migration or what?
Oh, no, encouraging migration. It tells migration stories. So one of the other projects that I sort of touched on earlier was we're actually working on a digital program. So it's like it'll be a migration hub, and we hope to launch that in December. So what that will be like it's a digital hub that's attached to our website that shows various migration stories. So we've taken photographs. We actually filmed some video on Sunday, and we had some interviews with the various migrants present, and that will be included on that digital hub. And that will add to that.
So presumably the object is to have people who come from overseas get along very well within Australia.
Absolutely, absolutely.
People will start to admire the culture of Malaysia or the culture of Singapore more than before.
Exactly.
Is that the idea?
Absolutely. Migration stories are our nation's stories. And one of the pillars of the museum's work is migration. I mean, because the museum is a museum of the sea, and obviously migration, we're an island nation, and migration is part of that story.
I came by air though.
Oh, it doesn't matter, but you still cross the sea because Australia is an island nation. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So absolutely.
You already have 32,000 names there, so my one name is not going to make any difference, I think.
Oh no, I think it will be. It's all like, I mean, I, for example, have added my parents, my grandparents. Every name counts, every story counts. So as I mentioned, it's not just the name on the monument. You add your story on the online archive as well. So you add the story, you can add photos, you can add video. So that's part of the whole process. The process is 3 parts: name on the monument, story on the online archive, and then the unveiling ceremony.
So you're allowing me to live forever. Okay.
Yes, forever.
I think to add on to that, Tina and Jeffrey, I think it helps, because we are 140 for Malaysian and 40 for Singaporean.
Yes.
Every name counts in increasing the representation of the Malaysian and Singaporean community in Australia. We are the 8th largest overseas born population in Australia, but in terms of ranking of the number of people and representation of different community on this monument, we are far from being number 8. And it's like election vote, every vote counts, every vote matters, and I think for this case, every name matters. So
I have a quick
We
question.
have a question from May.
May.
So May.
Yes, please, May.
Hello,
Can
May.
you hear me?
Yes.
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 My quick question is, under the migration story, what is the number of words or character spaces we are allowed?
I think it's about, might be about 1,000. No, that's the actual line. 47 is the characters on the actual line on the monument. May's asked,
no, I meant
you meant the online archive. Yeah, I'll need to get back to you on that. There is a limit, but it's quite a big one. Like, so it's not restrictive. I'll let you all know how many that is. And as I said, sorry, Jeffrey.
My autobiography is 100 pages long.
Oh, that might be a bit too long for the online archive.
Sorry, Tina, I missed a few seconds when you're talking about that. Does the $500 include the online?
Yes, it does. Yes.
Okay.
So Thomson, it's 3 parts. May asked, okay, so I'll start again. It's 3 parts. One is the line, the engraving in bronze. The second part is the online archive, where you add the migration story, including photos and video. May's question was how many words can go on there, and I'll find it out exactly, but I know it's quite lengthy, like it's not a short. And the third part is at the unveiling ceremony, where people see their names unveiled. And as you would have seen on Sunday, Thomson, that's quite an emotional and special event.
And the way how this works is that it's really just $500 and you get the whole package. There's no, like, you don't give people choices to choose, right? Whether you just want to opt for online or
no, it's the whole thing. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Can I vary my question in a different way? Maybe paraphrase it. So currently there must be migration stories already on there.
Yes.
Just in passing, if you had maybe a glance at some of them, generally speaking, are they 3-4 pages or 1 page long?
Oh, they're longer than 1 page. Let me just try and see if I can I'll ask someone to have a look. Hang on a second.
And Tina, you have the book as well, where you have some of the stories.
There's a book also? Who publishes the book?
Oh no, it's an online publication. I'm trying to get a copy of it. I've got here, where we share some. Can you see that? That's just an online which I've printed out. But you can access these stories online. But we also share them in our magazine.
I can't hear.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
No, you will say you can access, and then it went out.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you can access this as a PDF online. Again,
in and out.
Oh, I'm sorry. It must be me covering that. But the online publication. Can you hear me, May?
Something publication?
Yeah.
Does everyone else hear you?
Can everyone hear me?
I can't.
Yes, we can hear
actually hear.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, good. Yeah, so the online publication.
And then not.
It's every time I say online.
It's so strange.
How odd.
Every time you go into a sentence mode, I can't hear you. But when you say, can you hear me? I can hear you.
Oh, it's so odd. Yeah, it's an online publication, and I'll send you the link to that. How did we go? Did you catch me there? Did you get that? Oh, interesting. I'll send you a link anyway. I'll send you a link.
Yeah, never mind. I'll get the link.
Yeah, I'll send you the link.
Cool. Any other questions? Christina, you have a question?
Christina.
Hi, can you hear me? I'm trying to speak from
my iPhone. We can hear you. Very smart.
That's right. So thank you so much for today's session. It certainly answers a lot of questions. And I think, you know what, Tina, I'm just going to be doing it. I'm so excited.
Thank you, Christina.
I didn't know such thing ever existed until today. What a great idea and a great way to, continue on the spirit of, Malaysian migrants, Singaporean migrants, and a great way to continue this legacy to the next generation. And I think it's great. And thank you, Thomson, for doing this. It's amazing. I wish more people had jumped on today to listen to this.
Yeah, I'll be sharing the recording anyway, so more people can understand what the monument is about and what this whole project is about. When I read some of the stories in the PDF, I feel very emotional for them.
Yeah,
it's a really great initiative.
Well, I think that's why we're doing the annual dinner event in the museum, Christina, because annual dinner is probably the most important event in the AMSA calendar, and it is just befitting for us to hold it in this very historical year of 185 years of history at the museum. So I think it is something that is new to the community, particularly to the Malaysian and Singaporean community. But I do hope that, with today's session and with the annual dinner event, this will be a great start to creating the momentum, or what they call getting the ball rolling, to integrate and bring the community together in this project, because I think there's so much more that we can do to get this dialogue. And it's not just about the monument. For me, it's about the dialogue, the conversations about how much immigration and migration has contributed to Australia as a nation. That's what I'm so passionate about, and that's what inspired me the most in with this partnership, but more importantly, showcasing this project to the wider community.
Yeah, because as I mentioned before, migration stories are our nation stories.
Yeah,
And by sharing them, we learn more
absolutely.
about our nation. And May, I've got feedback. It's 3,000 characters for the online archive.
3,000.
Thank you so much.
lot.
I like getting information while I think about it.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. So it's 3,000. And as I said, I will send the link to Veronica for the book, the digital
I'll
publication.
send out the recording links and the book and you know, where you can order this to everyone.
Yeah. And I'll also send you a link to some of the other migration stories that we've got online as well. So we'll send a few links out to everybody.
Yeah.
So just one quick clarification. It's 3,000 characters, right? Or
Yes.
words?
Yes, characters.
All right. Thank you.
Great.
So how many words is that? Just curious. If it's 3,000 characters.
Well, it depends. It depends how many characters in a word. So it can vary.
Yeah,
Yep.
So
it's
Jeffrey,
quite a
Jeffrey, your
lot.
bio can't fit.
Gotcha.
So Jeffrey, your bio can't fit.
Yeah, but 100 pages can't fit. I realized
Not
that.
100
How
pages,
many
Jeffrey.
photos can I put in?
But you know what I realized, like, you know, Thomson, is so meaningful to not only come together for a gala just to eat and just have fun. Of course, it'd be good to connect, but it's good to have, you know, a project like this. You know, like you said, every story is a good story, and it shows it's an inclusive culture, right? Everyone is important, and again, it's aligned with AMSA now, a home away from home.
Yeah.
And this is your,
Yeah.
this is us, and it's all of us that
Yeah.
come forward.
I would
Yeah.
encourage everyone to send me photos if they have migration photos or photos of you working in Australia, living in Australia. I hope to put a video wall together and show it at the dinner. So could you
Lovely.
send it to marketing@amsa.com.au? You know, I'll be very happy if you could, you know, contribute to this video wall that I'm trying to do.
Maybe you could put the email.
Yes,
In
I
the link,
would
Yes.
put all that together into the email with all the links and everything. I've also put the dinner
Okay.
link onto the chat. We have less than 16 tickets left. So, you know, grab it as soon as you can if you haven't registered for the dinner.
Actually, 8 tickets only.
8
Veronica.
tickets now. Oh, God.
Somebody has taken a table already just yesterday. So
Okay, so better register quick before it runs out, if you haven't registered.
okay.
And I've got one more addition. I'm answering, look, this is all live on the spot here. You can add pictures to your registration, which will show up on the online national monument. You're allowed up to 10 pictures. Accepted file, Jeffrey, is that okay? And then we've got accepted file formats are JPEG and PNG with a file limit of 2 megabytes per image. Images should be a minimum of 500 pics wide, and to prevent cropping, we recommend that pictures are square or landscape. And that's it. We are many link. Oh, and I've got it here. So I'll send this on to Veronica.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, if you have all the old AMSA committees images from the 80s and the 90s, we would love to have them, because it is a great way to showcase, you know, these are all migration story.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that migrants do not only come to Australia, but they actually created AMSA and do something for the community and bring the community together. I think this is so powerful. So, you know, appreciate if that by any chance in your archive or, you know, in your house or in your drawer, you kept some of those photos.
Yeah, I'll put up to 10 photos and 3,000 characters. Okay. I'm already spending $500 here.
All right. I'm just mindful that we also have a few other people on the call, and just wondering if you have any questions or any comments you wanted to ask Tina before we wrap this up.
I noticed there was some chat items. Have we gone through all of those?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is this,
No more questions?
Well, if there's no more questions, then I think we can call it a day and finish the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you for listening.